What's up, Saints and Aints? Welcome back to another episode of Music and Makeup. This is a special segment I like to call Behind the Beat. It's where I sit down with artists who are making serious noise in their lanes. Today's guest is a producer, DJ, and historian, and has played a key part in Buffalo's sound. He's had recent placements on Westside Gunn's The Hills Have Eyes 2 and 12. Has been holding it down in hip-hop for years. From building with crews like Green Giant and the BAR Association to dropping his own projects like The Research and Classical Gifted, he's been putting Buffalo on the map. Welcome to the podcast, Cee Gee. All right. How did you get into music and production?
Music has been part of my life since I was a kid.
Okay.
Because born in the 90s, it was definitely the peak of culture. That was when going through your folks' physical collection and watching music videos and listening to the radio. That was the three outlets. So me glued in the music at the time. And then, and initially I want to be a DJ before I got into the production. And then I started off by dubbing cassettes and then later dubbing CDs, and then me listening to music that was around at the time, and then me getting into Tribe and listening to De La, listening to Little Brother, Slum Village, and The Roots, all of the peeps that me getting into the sound I get into, and then me getting into production. This October is going to be 16 years since I made my first beat.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've been doing this a while.
I started making my first beat since 2009. It was
okay.
It was all through my cousin, who he was already established at the time. He had a studio at his dad's basement, which is my uncle. And I showed this one record, and then he used the SR10 or something like equipment that they had. And, when I came back home, I wanted to do more, but I didn't have equipment at the time. A year later, once I got myself together, I bought the software, and I had a laptop at the time. And then while the software that you can install, and that's where you're making beats. And I didn't start making beats until like a year later, like 2011, like 5-6 years later. I bought myself an MPC, and then it took off. And then I've been using the same machine since like 2016.
What were some of the early influences that shaped your sound?
My early influence has got to be Premier from listening to Gangstar, and then a lot of this production from Nas to Jay to the Big, and then the Orwells at the time, and then Pete Rock with his jazz and the funk, and then plus me using instrumentals in between songs. I end up doing it on my projects, and I put beats in between songs, like some couple. And then Knife Wonder, who he was a main producer for Little Brother at the time, and then plus the group raised me in my teenage years, and then I was impressed at him making the beats through the computers, and then later he ended up got a beat machine on his later production. And then the Q-Tip, as much as I respect him as a rapper, but I always had respected as a producer.
Yes. Your Q-Tip is an excellent producer. I don't think enough people talk about that, but yes.
And also, we cannot talk about Q-Tip without Jay Dilla. Because without Q-Tip, we know Jay Dilla. And then in the next Trop album after the Midnight Marauder, someone brought Jay Dilla to the Q-Tip. That's kind of my introduction. And Dilla was on point. His catalogs, especially beats, is so nonstop and inspiration. And also, honorable mention got to be RZA.
Oh, yes.
Like, him started off as a dirty, dusty beats, and then later, he kind of polished it up. But there's more that I want to add, but those are my early inspiration.
You got some good influences. Those are some of my favorite producers. So now your moniker or your stage name, Cee Gee Incorporated. What is the story behind that, or how did you come up with that name?
Well, my real name is Columbus Green. So I was named after my grandfather, my late grandfather, who was my late dad father, and also I was named after my late uncle, who he was going by that, and then I was named after my other grandfather, who was my mom's dad. So I have two names. That two names is the name after my both grandfathers, and then Cee Gee came from my mom naming that. Once I was making a name for myself, I want to add it, incorporate it with something that way. For algorithm reasons that I know there's a lot of the Cee Gee out there, but incorporated just look a little easy to people that can find.
When did you first realize that you wanted to do this as a career and not just like a passion or something?
I didn't even think about it at first because after I made my first beat, I didn't even think it was going to be a future for me. By that time, like, you know, music was kind of going through like a left hill. I was so disgusted with what was out during like the 2008. And mind you, this is like the ringtone era. I was already making beats, but nothing really like jumping off because I was just so focused on getting myself together by just working my job most of all the time. And my talent was getting more seriously, and I needed somebody to get there. You know, I met this guy that told me about this shows going on in Broadway Joe's. It was a place that he used to do shows, and then I started going there, going shows, going like events, and that's how I ended up meeting the future stars who will later become Griselda around that same time. But I had to start presenting myself like just show up, build artists, and that's how I started making my own projects and starting like, you know, going to shows, and then that's how to like, you know, I started to take a little bit seriously.
You touched on this briefly in your answer here. What was the Buffalo hip hop scene like pre-Griselda for independent artists?
It was really stellar because, you know, like we had an art culture, we had like a entertainment. I did mention Broadway Joe's. These guys that who I'm associated with, like they used to do this weekly event called Baby Steps, and they broadcasted all the shows.
You talked about fellow supporters or people who have supported you early in your career, and you did talk about, I've heard you mention DJ Shay. What role did he play in like helping you get started?
I met Shay like nearly 9 years ago. Well, actually 9 years ago, because I was already like 2-3 years in the scene. I knew about Shay. He was in a group called Brotherhood Nation. That was in the 90s, and then he was started forming Up City. I did mention my brother was managed this group called Off the Block. It's the R&B group, and then after my brother came home, and that's when like Buff City was started to form, and then he started putting them. I knew about him from the parties. Also, Benny and Conway was with him during the Buff City era. Once I came into the picture, you know, I met Shay, like, you know, because I used to be at this venue called DBGB's, and then like a large professor was in my city, and that's how I met Shay. And then he had his own recording studio called Lulo's studio. And that's where like Benny, Conway, Amani Caesar, a lot of artists was recorded there at the time. And then like when I didn't start going to that studio until like 2017. Me and this guy named Kevin Delgado, who's also go by Fritz Giant, we formed a group called Green Giant. And I recorded the whole album, with steps in one song, in that DJ Shay studio. And I had an amazing time being in there. Like I was there for recording, I was there for the mixing, and you know that was like the best experience. And keep in mind, me getting in that studio, that kind of built the bond with BSF, with development artists. I kind of glad to see, even though it's kind of sad that like, you know, bro been gone for like 5 years, and then he didn't even get a chance to see like, you know, Benny got the plaque, and then them travel like overseas and then that. So Shay had a really good role in the city. So like, you know, rest in peace, DJ Shay.
Yes, long live DJ Shay. You talked about the Bar Association and Green Giant. You mentioned Green Giant earlier. How did Bar Association and Green Giant, how did each of those come together?
I met Kevin 10 years ago when I started getting into the scene. He was already rapping back then, and then like when I met him, like he was ready to quit for a personal reason, because he already had a career on his own, and because you know he's a couple years older than me. When I started coming around, and then you know I was still working on my first album at the time. We always cross paths with each other. We always talk about collaborating with each other, and we recorded his first song. Called Bitlamoski. That was the first song that you heard on the research that kind of sets it off, and then I ended up putting that as a bonus on the first Green Giant. And the same time, I met this guy named Genesis that I did 2 albums with him, Proverbs, Million Games, and Product of the 90s. Okay. Genesis is a half rapper, a half singer. He's in an R&B group called Fall Below.
Okay.
Yeah, they both knew each other because they was part of the whole circle. But relationship with both of them, and then also I have other artists that I was associated with them. And then like, cause I've already did the Green Giant, the first album around like we put it out with like 2018, and then 5 years ago I put out my second album, Classical Gifted. In between like Classical Gifted and also my success of being on Westside Gunn's Part 7, I was already building with Genesis and Frigid at the time because me and Kevin was working on the second album, the Green Giant 2. And probably the reading games to get ready to come out, but then at the time COVID was hit, and that kind of delayed 2 albums. That even though this October is going to be 5 years since Prophets came out, and in January Green Giant 2 came out, I started my third album, Theology. And around those times, I wanted to start forming my crew. I came with this caption with I said that I got the sound, he got the arts, and he got the rhythm, because around that time, like I was focus on the sound. And not only my partner Kevin can rap, but also he can draw because he's also an illustrator too. He's a comic book illustrator too, and that's how I came up with the Bar Association, which is beats, arts, and then rhythm. Those 2 was my main artists, and then I have other artists that I was associated with. I had this guy named Mizart who I did a song with him called "Prey versus Predator." It's produced by me, but it's featured King Ralph, who. That's El Camino's older brother, and then of course BSF Rick Hyde is on the same record. And I got this young R&B songstress, salsa artist. He's a very talented artist that I've been working with. And then I had this veteran dude named Mike Cassell. He's just part of a project called Alan Inwood.
Okay.
Yeah. I did like 2 records. And then I got this other female artist named Queen McCall. She's an illest, but even though she's in a different direction at this moment right now, so salute to her. And then I got Rubik's Cube, who is a producer, and then I have Lord Nexus, who was basic from Massachusetts. So I kind of want to put together like my own set that way that like who I'm representing, and plus that identity that like that grows a tree, and then that been kind of took off, and I had like a good 5-year run with this whole collective so far.
Okay, that's good. And it's nice that you're building with artists with all types of different genres and sounds. It gives it much of a variety in the collective. And you talked briefly about this earlier. When did your relationship with Westside Gunn start, and what was your first project you worked on with him?
So I did mention earlier that I met Griselda a little earlier. So I met Wes in the late 2014. I was already friends with him on Facebook, and he was already bubbling on the part 2 of the Hermes project, because people was wearing the shirts and the hoodies at the time. And then when he put together part 3, that was like the almost towards the holiday season, and then he brought Skyzoo in town.
Okay.
And then he because they did this song called Rolex.
Yep.
Yep. Because they shot that at the same they shot that video the same day that I met them.
Okay.
I met Skyzoo. I was a huge fan of him about this time, and then like that record I just did recently, and that was like a full circle. Keep in mind, I already did a song with Skyzoo before, because I did a project with Ellis called Green Ore Bros. The song has like me, Cast, Skyzoo, and Deuce Ellis on the mic.
Okay.
And me and Deuce Ellis did the production. It's called The Dodgers. So I met Wes also at the same day I met Conway.
Okay.
And I already met Derringer because he was DJing in the club set at the time, and then I didn't know he was making beats. I was tapped in with them early, but I wasn't even fully established yet. Once I got serious making beats, and someone suggested me that I should make my first song, and it started off with the Broadway Joe, like I mentioned before, with Broadway Joe's. So Broadway Joe's was the first song that people heard in me at the time, and then it was rest of history.
How did your involvement? I know you also worked, aside from like with just Westside Gunn, you also worked on Pray for Haiti, which is a collaboration between My Kami and Westside Gunn, and also the Conflicted soundtrack. How did you get to start working on those 2 projects?
That's an interesting story, because it all ties in the same thing. So during the pandemic, so Wes was in town. He was in the middle working on the part 8 And I was already building beats, and I ran into him. Didn't want to hear what beats after Robert Joe's happened. Like, he wanted to see that what else do I got. And so I ended up sending like a munch pack, and I've already seen Conflicted prior to the soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
I was at the screening. The song Mission and Compliments is like, with Wes and Amani Caesar and then Benny. That was the only record I ever done with Amani Caesar and Benny. Then the Montgomery record was like, that was around the same time. It was also within the same package too. And then, yeah, it was in the same package because the Conflicted soundtrack came out top of the 21. And then the Pray for Haiti came out like a day after my birthday. I dropped Physiology around the same time too. I did the Marita, and that was one of the fan favorites. And that was a thing that with Wes was curating like other projects, and I was doing behind the scenes, like me being on a little Snapchat secret videos. And now keep in mind, I ain't been on other projects from the Paper Paris to Still Playing. I haven't been on any of the projects, and that's what leads up to the 12th. Most of the time, I'm on the machine a lot. I cook like 20 beats a day. And then, he was impressed about the work ethic. And plus, like, because he started off with Derringer and then Camouflage Monk and then sometime with Alchemist. And then sometimes it was the Denny LaFleur. And then the Doctor was in another picture. And then G.R. Swift was in the picture. Even his own kid. He collaborated with a lot of bigger names, during those times. And I'm thinking, like, damn, I want to be on the name of
I mean, you did Egypt.
Yeah.
So you had Doechii was on the remix. How did that feel? Because that, to me, it was big. I was like, that's a big deal because I just love her. But how was that to have her on the remix to your beat?
It was all started as a sample.
Oh, okay.
I did the beat already, but then Wes kind of found the clip of her praising him during the interview. He heard the song and reaction clip went viral. This is the day after Easter. And then like a week later, the remix came to be, and that was the biggest thing. And keep in mind that this is around the time that she just won the Wear Me, and then what's kind of interesting, I didn't give a chance to listen to her mixtape that she put out last year because her mixtape came out the day after I graduate because I got my GED.
Congratulations too on that.
Her mixtape came out like a day after I graduated. So I was too busy, like, celebrating, and then I went straight back to work afterwards. It was a big move for me, but also it gave like the female listeners. It
really did introduce your production to like a whole nother audience because I'm a Wes and Doechii fan. So it was good to like see all those worlds to come together, but it did introduce your production, and the song, the beat itself is just so rich and so layered, and it just feels so good. So it's like kudos to you on that. What's your philosophy now? I know creating a beat for like yourself versus creating for somebody else.
It depends on the feeling. I'm on the computer, like I'm just like gathered up the samples, I'm just trying to picture like how I put together, and that's the reason why that like I make 10, 20 beats a day.
How do you handle like rejections and delays in this industry, and when you're working, what keeps you like motivated?
I just either keep working on the beats or just present the beat to someone else.
If you had any advice for somebody that was getting into production,
study your influence, support your peers, and take your time to get into your craft if you want to get into this seriously. I'm on Twitter or X, it's Cee Gee 520. You can support my albums on Bandcamp. Cee Gee Incorporated. Rewind, press play, fast forward. Side A is out now. Working on the side B at this moment, and then of course, 12, Hills 1 and Hills 2 is out now. The Westside Gunn. And I got the Blood on My Hands with T Hall. The EP is out now. And I got other project with Bar Association Crew. And I'm working on a documentary about myself. And make sure you're tapped in with your bro. And also, I'm a collector. I'm a video gamer and a collector.
How did you get it? Because I see in the back you got like the Sonic pictures and all of the video game. How did you get into video games? How serious are you about it?
I got all type of classics. While I'm playing music, I'm also playing games.
Okay.
Yeah, because it started off with the Nintendo, and then of course the Sega Genesis, and then PlayStation came in. I've been playing 1 to even now with 5. I'm still getting used to it with the 5 because I only had it like 2-3 weeks now. I name my titles like a video game reference or movie reference, or even some place or things around a Buffalo reference. I'm getting ready to go to the Comic-Con next weekend because I got some more things I'm gonna collect. I've been going and collecting since I was a kid by going to yard sale and going to like the flea. There was a flea market in my city.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Keep at that. And you never know. One of your beats may end up in a video game one day. I think that would be an amazing crossover for you. Well, thank you so much, Cee Gee, for coming to the podcast and talking with us. It was an honor to speak with you. And it was just a great conversation all around and learning so much about you. To my audience, make sure I'm going to tag all of his information down in the description box. Make sure you tap into his Bandcamp and check out his catalog. Again, Saints and Aints, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for the latest in music and makeup. Until next time, Saints and Aints, love you. Bye.